Hi, I'm going to show you how steps are supposed to be built and stuff. And a lot of times you're going to work with old stuff and add new stuff when you're doing renovating. It's not always perfect, so you're going to work with what you have. So we have really old steps here that need a good paint job. But if you can see, we already did a binder in front of it, and we're gonna just asphalt this as part of the sidewalk. So I put a line there where the top coat is gonna go, so you see that the steps are gonna be even. That's the best we can do with those, because we're leaving them. And then we built this retainer wall to make the driveway larger, actually, and fit 3 cars wide, make it a little easier for the tenants. As you look at these steps, we left space for the top coat and the asphalt again. It's gonna come up about 3 inches to that line, and then all those steps will be even. Those are 6-inch steps, 6-inch risers. We poured a concrete walkway, and we have it pitched to the front, but I don't want the water running over the steps, so before we get to the front, I dipped it right back to this corner, so it's gonna land in the mulch or the stone, whatever we decided to put there. And now we have the landing done, and we have the walkway done. So now we're gonna build the stairs, because we have both finished ends done. So this here, Elvis, if you grab that level.
Watch the bottom bit.
Yeah, I see it. And just put that level on the top of that deck, because we're gonna go. We want to on the top of the deck. Set that level, and then make a mark right about where your foot is where the tread's gonna come out to. Yep, that's good. And now we also want to make a mark off this face of the landing. We want to come up, we're doing 5 steps. So we're gonna go 10 inch per step, which is gonna be 50 inches even. So we're gonna mark that at 50 inches. So we already know what we're gonna use for the depth of the tread. 10's comfortable. By the time you add the decking on there, it'll be an 11-inch step.
So we have
Now,
15 inches here.
50 inches. Now level that down. Level that down and just put a mark on the walkway. It's gonna go way that way. The other way, the other way. Yep. So that's gonna be the front of our step. The front of the frame to the step. Now I want you to take a measurement from that mark to the mark you put where the level line is, so it's even with the deck. And then we're gonna divide our risers. So we have 40, 44, 15, 16. We're just gonna call that 45 inches. 45 inches. So we have exactly, if we have 5 steps, this is where a lot of people make a mistake. If we have 5 steps, that means we have 6 risers. So we're gonna divide that by 6. So 45 divided by 6, I think is 7.5. 45 divided by 6. This is a perfect step size, because you know it's an even round number. 7.5, 7.5 inches is gonna be the rise. You don't need to write it. We can remember it.
7.5.
Yep.
So we have 10 for the
Yep. 10 inch per step. That gives us the 50 inches, and then we have 7.5 inch rise each step.
all right.
Okay, so we are going to Now we're gonna cut stringers for these. We have these set now. This is at 10 inches even. This is at 7.5 inches even. I'm gonna slide this down. Grab your speed square because we don't want to waste any lumber. We always use it as much as we can. Now we're just gonna slide this down until this is over the edge. This is up to the edge. Yep, pull that tight. Right there. That's good enough. All right. Now put a line right there. All right, that's set in place, right?
Yes.
There's our first step. There's our first riser. So now, this is the most important part. Every time you make a new line, you want to put a straight edge against your button. We're gonna call these buttons. Because what happens is if you do this by eye and you don't have the buttons, sometimes they don't come out as perfect. So I like to use these buttons, and I like to put a line against it that we have to go up for the next one, so we know it's in the exact right spot. So now all we're gonna do is line the square up with that line. We're gonna follow suit.
You hold the lines here.
Yep, that's lined up with the line.
Yeah, hold the lines here.
This is our second step, which will be our third riser. Perfect. And then again, a little more, a little more, a little more. Right? No. Right? A little more, a little more. A little more. Right there. It's our third step.
You do line here.
Yep. This will be number 4. And I'm counting them so we don't lose track and waste time. Go back a little bit. Back a little bit. Right there. See, I want that line to end right with this one.
All right.
The side of that. On that.
How many we have?
One more. This is our last one. This is number 5. Number 5. Right there. Perfect. Perfect. Now this one, just make the line stop it here because we're cutting it off anyway. Yep. So you don't get confused on the next one. And now all you're gonna do is drag this straight back, just like that. And you're gonna use the same tool, back it up, put the pins on that edge, line up with that line, and just square it off. That's it. So that's our first stringer. And what we do with this one, because we're gonna have 4 stringers, we cut this one. We don't have to make all the marks and lines again because we're gonna trace this.
This goes off.
Yep. Make X's on the side you're cutting off. Now remember, we want the saw blade. We want the saw blade to just take the line. You want to cut the saw blade on this side of the line, not on this side.
All right.
So they're all the same. I would just take the line.
All right.
So you got about an 1/8 inch, 1/8 inch saw blade. And same thing on this side. You're gonna take the line on this side, on this one. So put a little X there just to remind you. And then once you have this up, same thing. Mark the bottom, but the bottom now. See, we already know we're using. We know we're using for decking, and the decking we're using is 1 inch thick. So slide this down. I want from this line to the bottom to be 6.5 inches even. So keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Right.
6.5.
6.5, right there.
So we're online there?
Yep, we're on line. Make sure that's tight on both sides.
Yeah.
Oh, that was off a little. All right, so now mark that right across. So this would be, it's a 7.5 inch rise, but we're taking 1 inch off the bottom, making this 6.5 inches, because once we add our decking to the top, it's going to be 7.5 inches, and this is going to follow all the way up.
So we make sure we have 6.5 exactly there.
Six
Yes.
and a half. Now, one little note is on that ramp. The ramp is a 1/4 inch pitch, a 1/4 inch per foot. We kind of already know right about where it is, so we went roughly a 1/4 inch per foot. So what's going to happen here is the front of this stringer is going to be right on that mark. The back of the string is going to be about a 1/4 inch less, but I wouldn't cut that 1/4 inch off yet until we put this in place. Don't even mark it yet. We're gonna put it in place, and then we're gonna scribe it. Once we have it in place level, we're gonna scribe it, and you'll see the difference.
All right.
And then we're just gonna, transfer that, cut that off one at a time, each one, because sometimes the cement varies a little bit, so we're gonna make sure they're all exact.
Okay.
So now cut this one, and then we're gonna do a template. We got enough. We have two 2x12 by 12 foot, pressure treated. We're gonna cut this one, we're gonna trace the other 3 identical, taking the line every time, and we'll be ready to do our stringers.
All right. Let's do it.
You have the board so close, and the inside's to be hard to get a screw in it. We have to go on an angle. You can get one from that way, get one from the back, right, and then get one from this way, and then get one from this way.
Yeah. And then like that.
All three ways. Yep. So put 3 screws in each one.
What I'm gonna do is gonna mark that side, so I know what to.
Now the stringers are done. We're screwing them in place. On the top, we made our mark with a level line across. They're all nailed in and screwed in the back. And then in the bottom, we put these cleats in just to give us some extra strength for the weight. Remember, the most important thing is getting the finished floor to finished floor measurement and dividing that by 1 more than the number of treads. And you want to be between 6 and 8 inches for the riser.